Hey guys, it's Ren. Here we are, we're going to do a video on the taking of Dol Guldur. Right now we're just sort of showing the current map of the server. I'm part of the Arnor faction. We've been fighting towards the center for a few weeks. And currently we've secured the Dol Guldur territory, all the different entrances, and just showing here the forts and the armies that we've set up. It's a pretty formidable force for conquering Dol Guldur, we're hoping. And we had some help from Lothlorien. Here's just some of the armies you can see that I have set up. Good little scouts. But I have a number of forces that are set up to take the armies out of Dol Guldur. That's my primary role, is to help defeat all the NPC armies that are defending it. And then we will send in the siege to bring that sucker down. So I'm pretty happy with the heroes I've assembled so far. This video was about a week ago. I picked up Gandalf the White since. I used Galadriel with some eagles, a big stack, sort of a heavy-hitting force, and then I really like Theoden. He hits really well, he survives well, he damages armies really well. Gandalf and Eowyn are decent against the NPCs. They don't really hit that hard, though. They mainly just survive a long time. And we have Dwalin and some others. Let's see, Gimli. I like Eowyn. She's pretty good, too. And I have Gil-galad and a few others that I haven't equipped with the armies yet. I haven't really pumped up their equipment or their gear. Here you can kind of see some of the different heroes I had at the time when I was putting in. Oh, when I might actually want to put some gear on her. I'm doing some optimizing before the video, so we'll just throw this on really quickly, grab whatever she has available. And generally, as far as a strategy for equipment, for the heroes that don't have a healing ability, I try to give them something in the miscellaneous to heal up the different units. For those that rely on their healing, I try to avoid them getting stunned or madness. For those that are damage dealers, sort of focus on their survivability and burst damage that they can do. And there's a lot of different strategies, there's a lot of different builds out there on YouTube. A lot of really good ideas. I mean, we've even seen strong Sam and Frodo sort of madness builds. Commander Madness is a very powerful ability, where you can have your commander end up attacking their own troops, and if that's a damage commander, or even a healing commander can heal the enemy troops, then you can run into all sorts of problems. So here we have the assault has started. You can see that we're sending in the troops to burn down the defending armies on Dol Guldur, and before you want to send in your siege units, you want to basically zero out any of the defending armies so they don't take too much damage, and that way you can burn down the massive amount of siege hit points that these capitals have. This is fighting for the ring, and we want to take the ring and then hold the fort for a few weeks until the season ends. The server is on season 1, so we have a lot of newer players in the Cats Fellowship as part of the Arnor faction. And you can see some of the hits I've taken here. You know, Gandalf didn't get hurt much at all. Oh, there's Grima. He actually did hurt Gandalf. Probably look at the battle report, you see that he turned Gandalf probably mad. Probably zapped himself. It's kind of random number generator luck on some of these battles. But we're gradually beating them down. So let's see here. Let's see, my troops are coming in. Taking out 10 of the defenders so far. Still more work to do. So each of the enemy armies is a level 50 army, and they're inflated a bit with the number of troops that are defending. They're not actually as difficult as a 300 power tile, where on the 300 power tile, those defending armies are level 50, but they also come with a huge amount of like legendary and epic gear, really nice optimized stats and troops. Now these level 50s here are no joke either. They're pretty strong, but they don't come with the gear. And so they're a little bit easier to burn down. You can see my Gimli here got a little bit beat up. That was the second army that he was fighting with the Undying. You see Legolas finished that guy off, took some damage with Grim. Arwen knocked down Matok a bit. So, and then there's that Grima who actually hurt Gandalf a fair chunk. Those are just the NPCs, and you don't get any experience, you don't get any prestige for fighting these capital territories, but you can see that we're burning down the troops at a pretty good clip. For the greater good. One of the bigger challenges is just getting everybody together at the same time. And Lord of the Rings, like many of these other MMO games, are just a lot of people from a lot of different countries all around the world, so it's always an inconvenient time. It's always like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning for somebody somewhere. And in this case, we were picking around 1800 UTC because we have a good amount of European players. We have a good amount of US-based players, and so it was just a good time to get everybody together and see how quickly we could take this down. So there we are. We're getting down to almost 10 or less defenders, and we're just a few minutes in, so 2.5 minutes in from the first hit, and we've almost knocked off the remaining defenders. So far, so good. We don't have any signs of any opponents trying to come in. Here I am just healing up the troops that I've beaten up so far. So if an army was heavily wounded, then I will recover them and use the stamina for siege. My HQ is just a bit to the northwest of Dol Guldur. Kind of a nice location actually, so it's pretty quick to do reinforcements, and that helps a lot. So getting a territory close to do your attack is really essential. So we should be pretty close to knocking it down here. So the guys are still fighting. So we're about just a few minutes in here. See, the draws are still going around 2 minutes-ish. 1 minute in Galadriel because her eagles, so this battle's only been going for about 4 minutes, and we're almost burned through all of the defenders. And then we're going to go send in the siege. So making a siege build, there's really one hero, Hergon. He's the only one with some skills that actually increase your siege capacity. That's the damage you'll do to the hit points of a strategic location once the troops are down. So he's a pretty handy hero to just top off with a bunch of infantry troops with a very high siege score. Typically that's an infantry unit, like a guardian. Dwarf guardians I think are pretty popular for that. And then he'll have a bonus on top of that with his skills, depending on how you pump them up. You can use any hero really as a siege hero by just loading them up with a bunch of melee. They go slow. The risk is if an enemy ever puts in a good combatant hero, you might have your siege smack them. And if your heroes are not that strong, you might lose a bunch of siege units. But what you try to do is clear it out so that doesn't happen. You can see that we've fully surrounded Dol Guldur here. And now we're just going to start burning it down. So, let's see, still one defending unit. Dun, 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 dun. So, given that there were 60 defenders to begin with, getting it down to 1 in about 5 minutes seems pretty good. Pretty happy with Galadriel and her eagles. We make a lot of jokes about the eagles. They're chicken dinners on the server. I often use them for tactical airstrikes. My favorite target is Mumakils, those great big elephants. They're probably the strongest unit in the game. I see our friends in Mordor use them quite a bit, but it takes about an hour to train one Mumakil, one command unit of Mumakil. So it takes a long time to build up your army training those guys. That's about the only downside. The eagles are great because they move really quickly, and Galadriel has some incredibly strong heals for single stacks of eagles, and depending on the power of her army, that helps her do damage. So she's a pretty nifty commander who's both a support hero who does really decent healing at rank 5 and also does really good damage. So I definitely think she's one of my favorite heroes. The other one, Theoden, is a pretty decent hero too. He has a decent heal for cavalry units, and of course you stack him with cavalry, and he does really good damage himself as well. So the cavalry and Theoden do a good amount of damage, and they're survivable and they're maneuverable. So those are sort of two of my favorite commander and hero combinations. Recently I have a Gandalf the White. He's up to rank 5, and that seems pretty decent for against the evil races, but really want to get him up to he's rank 3. Want to get him up to rank 5 so he can be more of a general, strong commander and hero. Also have an Elrond, but haven't quite figured out the right skills or gear mix for Elrond. I was putting a lot of effort on Galadriel to begin with, and now some of the other heroes. Another hero that I really like is Legolas, and at rank 5, he's actually really, really good with infantry units. So what I do is I stack him up with Dwarf Guardians and Rams, and thank you, Tactician, for some of the tips and hints on setting up the gear and the troops, because that's a really effective combo. Just having Rams that reduce the defenses of your target, and then having Dwarf Guardians, which just have a lot of hit points and tanking soakiness, and then Legolas himself does really fantastic damage. So that's a pretty good combo for knocking down tough targets. It's been decent for Muma kills. You know, he'll probably get wiped out, but he'll take out a bunch of Muma kills with him. So that's an okay trade-off when you're fighting those strong units. So if I hit with Galadriel, Theoden, and Legolas, that'll do some damage. That'll typically take out at least three enemy armies or more, and it's a pretty good way to go beat down a stack. So here we are now putting the siege on Dol Guldur. Now we're just dogpiling with everything we got. You can see it's coming down pretty quick. Let's go to third down so far. I'm going quickly. So everybody was pretty keen. So this was just a pile of armies. Now this is where you just want to put a lot of infantry in with siege. Cavalry do about half, roughly, the siege damage as infantry. Eagles are kind of useless at siege. They're really useful in a lot of other ways, and that's something that Muma kills are fantastic. They have just a massive siege ability. So if the bad guys group up a bunch of Muma kills, as they often do, it's really hard to stop that. You know, they kind of crush their way through. The strategy there is just wear them down, because it'll take the evil guys 2 to 3 days to build up their Muma kill armies and then kind of do that again. Where the good sides can sort of swarm the evil enemies, and they kind of have to anyways to catch up. So this server was pretty interesting. We came in with a bunch of seasoned gamers, and we picked up some new people as well. A lot of folks had never played Lord of the Rings Rise to War before. A handful did. And so we were preparing to just get them used to the game, and our intent is to set up a pretty strong fellowship in Season 2, joining forces with some of the other friendly alliances on the server. And so Erebor and Gondor are two that we're discussing with and working on sort of coordinating for Season 2. The evil alliances, they won't be able to join us because we'll be going to a roleplay server, and they want to keep going with their evil commanders. They don't want to switch over. So I think that's why we're focusing on fighting the evil teams now. And we've been pushing to fight our way south. To Barad-dûr is kind of a stretch goal. We haven't seen the countdown for the season ending yet. It's been about a week after we took Dol Guldur from this video, and getting a little bit excited to start with Season 2 with some friendly enemies who will be friends. We had some really good fights. I think we succeeded in the objective of learning a lot about the game and the game mechanics. I think Season 2 will be a lot more difficult because there'll be more active players, there'll be more seasoned and experienced players, there'll be probably super fellowships and other organized groups from other servers. So here we are, we're down about a third or so left of the siege hit points on Dol Guldur. So it's coming down pretty quickly. We're well on pace. We have an hour from the first time you hit it to it recovers that huge defense of 60 level 50 defenders. We'll have this done well before 30 minutes in with the amount of firepower we have and siege that's coming in. It's kind of fun. So I ended up getting top kills for the defending armies after checking the stats on this video. It's not in the video, but it was definitely fun sending in all my top DPS guys and trying to do as much damage as I could. So here we go, coming down 4 mil. It's getting about 15%. People can smell the kill. Almost done. So 24 million siege health. You can get a good 100 to maybe 130, 140,000 siege into a well-built melee or Hergon army. And if you're smart with your stamina, you can hit, say, 5 or 6 times. So individually, you can do several million damage of siege if you have a lot of heroes and you gear them all up well, which is pretty good. The trick, of course, is having the balance of combatants to bring down 60 level 50 NPC armies, and then having the siege to bring down 24 million siege. To give some numbers to it, after this battle was done, I'd done about 2.8 million in damage for first capture kill, and Bishop had the top first capture siege ranking of 2.46 mil, almost 2.5 million, and that's with a lot of people hitting it. Mighty Rain was second, almost about 2 million, and Bulldog 1.5 million siege. So those three guys hit it really, really hard. On the first capture kill, Romans was just behind me a little bit too. He was at about 2.5 million on the first capture kill score, and Kirby was just about 2 million as well. So it was really Ren, Romans, and Kirby threw their armies into the grinder to bring down the armies, plus a bunch of others. And Bishop helped with them, and then did tremendous siege. So there we go, we conquered it. It's about 15 minutes in. We took the ring, we secured the Central Territory. Pretty solid win. So that's taking Dol Guldur